A Barbie movie just released. It was a big hit. It had Ryan Gosling. It's a big deal. Everybody's paying attention to it, including but not limited to our old buddy Ben Shapiro from the Daily Wire. Now, if you saw the thumbnail on this video, then you'll know Ben Shapiro showed up with a notebook to the Barbie movie, dressed like Ken. Now, he denies that he was dressed like Ken. He's like, oh, I was just dressed in all black. It's just a very odd thing for somebody to have shown up to a Barbie movie wearing, knowing that Ken was dressed like that. But whatever. Okay, let's take his word for it. Let's say he wasn't dressed up like Ken, and he isn't secretly a massive Barbie fan. Far be it for me to complain about that. Go nuts if you like Barbie. Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, like I give a shit. Love Barbie if you want, right? But to show up to a Barbie movie with a notebook and then subsequently make a 43-minute video about how badly the movie sucked is just ridiculous. It's like a step too far, okay? Now, I'm going to jump into this and tell you ahead of time, I have not seen the Barbie movie. I thought about not even doing this today. It's been decided. I come to find both my kid and my wife are into Barbie, apparently. Who knew? So we're going to go see the Barbie movie sometime soon. It's probably this weekend. But I have not seen it yet. So if you haven't seen it, you're walking in as blind as I am. Let's see if we can just pull apart Ben Shapiro's arguments on their face and not engage in any kind of, we're just going to pull apart the propaganda techniques and the fallacies and stuff that he uses generally. And while we do that, we are going to play some Breath of the Wild 2. I'm just kind of going around grinding, so yeah, just normal stuff. Anyway. If you don't know about the history of Barbie has always been a very, it's been a very feminist symbol in a lot of ways. They released the President Barbie, they released Dr. Barbie, they released all types of different Barbies, thus showing children, young girls who play with this stuff, that they can be anything they want to be. That's the idea, right? And that message was really important to a lot of young girls. So naturally, the Barbie movie is going to have a subtle undertone of equality. Of course, Ben Shapiro comes with a notebook to point out all of the times that it kind of brings up equality. So anyway, let's give it a listen. Let's start it out here. He's standing here with a Barbie next to a trash can, of course.
Both of them,
I'm sorry, yeah, and Oppenheimer also came out. I don't remember what Oppenheimer was out. Same day, so that's why he's holding some kind of a bomb or something. It had something to do with the bomb.
Well, folks, I just got back from the theaters seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm about to review both of them. I'm going to tell you which one of these is the best blockbuster of 2023 and which one is maybe the worst.
I bet he loved our movie, right, Ken?
For those of you who can't wait that long, I'm going to give my review of the Barbie movie in the most Oppenheimer fashion.
Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. I'm going to be really disappointed. Like I said, I'm going to be seeing the Barbie movie in the near future. I will be so disappointed if they don't play the Barbie song, I'm a Barbie Girl in a Barbie World, by, what's the name of that band? Was it Aqua something or other from the 90s or the 2000s? Oh my God, such a lost opportunity if they don't. I am so hoping to hear that. All right, let's listen here.
What the Run.
Okay, so he's lighting Barbie on fire. He obviously does not like Barbie. All right, let's jump forward here. He has a little bomb effect. Okay, great. What is wrong with this dude? My God.
So the things I do for my audience, my producers dragged me to go see Barbie.
My producers dragged me to go see Barbie. I bet. Yeah, 100%. They dragged me to this. Absolutely. I believe you, which is why you're dressed exactly the same way that a bunch of Kens were dressed in the movie. And you had a notebook with you. Totally. Absolutely. It was your producers that dragged you to see it. Okay. Go on.
Movie. Barbie, the movie. And I have thoughts. This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Let me begin with my generalized assessment of the movie. This movie is not just a piece of shit. This movie is a flaming piece of dog shit piled atop an entire dumpster on fire, piled atop a landfill filled with dog shit.
Okay, that's not the consensus by and large. I think people liked the movie a lot. The general audience liked it a lot. From what I can tell, it was an extremely big hit that everybody loved. Now, I'll tell you this much. I've seen a movie that had a feminist message, which is, by the way, a message I agree with, that went way, way, way over the top. It was terrible. It was awful. I'm not above criticizing a movie for its feminist message if it delivers it badly. That doesn't appear to be what the Barbie movie did, from what I can tell. Based on audience scores and box office sales and everything else, it seems to me like the Barbie movie did a really good job of doing what it intended to do. So Ben Shapiro seems to be acting just like a little snowflake here. I don't know. That's just how I'm reading it. Okay, let's continue on, Snowflake. I mean, Ben.
It is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. On every possible level, it is a horrific movie. The only
he hasn't seen Black Christmas, the 2019 remake of Black Christmas, then. That's the movie I watched that was just bad. It was bad. You know, okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to go off on a little tangent about Black Christmas. That movie was the preachiest movie that I have ever seen in my life. And again, I agree with this message, okay? Oh my God, my controller is disconnecting. It's the preachiest movie I've ever seen, and I agree with its message. I agree that there's a problem with, systemic mistreatment in society and systemic problems and everything that need to be addressed. 100%, I agree with all that. But the way that Black Christmas from 2019 went about trying to make that point was just cringy and bad. There were literally no male characters that were good, no positive male characters. Every female character was shallow. There was no depth to their character at all. It was just bad. And at certain points, it was a horror movie. At certain points, if I remember, it's been a while since I've seen it. I believe there was a point in this movie, Black Christmas. I keep saying 2019 because it was a remake. There was a point in the movie where the bad guy, the horror dude who was chasing these women down in this sorority and trying to kill them or whatever. If I remember, it's been forever. I believe there was a point where she got up in his face and she said, "You need to check your privilege," or something. And it was just cringy. Nobody actually talks like that in real life, So obviously Ben Shapiro has not seen a truly bad movie that delivers its message very, very poorly. A message that I agree with. Ben Shapiro is just looking for a reason to hate this movie, it seems to me, based on audience scores and all the other stuff. But I don't know. Let's keep listening here.
The only thing that can be said for this film is production design. The production design is really nice. The costumes are really nice. Also, it's really hard to screw that up. It's really hard to screw that up because you literally have this to model after. All you have to do is this, but big. Okay? It's really not tough. But put aside all...
Okay, he's downplaying the value of production and design. I'm sure that it was still a very, very difficult job. Don't downplay the importance of their jobs, Ben. Come on.
Of the beautiful costumes, which is there for the ladies, and all of the production design and the Barbie universe and all of that. Every joke that happens in this film happens basically within the first 45 seconds of the film.
By the way, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this about Ben Shapiro. Let me blow this up so you guys can see this. But when you're watching Ben Shapiro, you may not notice this because he's got black hair. But did you ever notice that he's wearing a yarmulke? He is very, very, very Jewish. He observes the Sabbath and everything. I've, listened to him talk about it. It's pretty interesting, actually. The Jewish faith is really interesting to me. Okay, let's keep listening here. So the first 45 seconds of the movie are where the jokes were, right? Okay.
Every joke that happens in this film happens basically within the first 45 seconds of the film. So, for example, Barbie turns on the water and there's no water. Ooh, because, like in Barbie house, there's no actual water. Do you get it? And then she drinks, but there's no actual liquid in the actual cup. Oh my God.
Okay, I mean, I can see this being executed really well. I don't have a problem with any of this stuff. Yeah, all right. I mean, why do you have a problem with this stuff, honestly?
God, because she's a Barbie doll. Oh, I get it. Okay, that's...
What did you expect him to do? Did you expect him to have, like, a sink with running water and all of that stuff? Did you expect them to not address the elephant in the room? It's a Barbie movie, Ben. Come on.
All the jokes. There are no more jokes for the rest of the film. The movie's a show. Okay, so conceptually, the movie is a show. I want to ask this. Who is the intended audience for this film?
Literally anybody who has ever had a Barbie doll. Anybody who likes Barbie, who played with dolls when they were little. That's who the audience is. Adults, by the way. I think it's a PG-13. It is not designed for kids. You should not be bringing your 5-year-old to it, from my understanding.
Who's the intended audience for this film? So I'll tell you who the intended audience for this film is. And I can tell two ways. One, the previews on the film, and two, the people in the audience. So the intended audience for this film is moms and their 8-year-old daughters. That's the intended...
Moms and their 14-year-old daughters. I don't think you should be bringing an 8-year-old to this movie. It's a PG-13, I believe.
Intended audience for the film. I know because the previews for the film were all kids' movies. I'm talking like G or PG rated kids films. We're talking like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Trolls 4 or whatever it is. Those were all the previews, right? All the previews are actually directed at what the audience is supposed to be for this film. And if you look in the audience, it's a bunch of moms, like youngish moms, middle-aged moms, with their like 6, 7, 8-year-old girls. That's the entire crew.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that it was designed for 8-year-olds at all. But all right, let's just go with it.
This movie is not made for any of those people. In fact, this movie is made for no one. This movie is going to make a bunch of money week one because the marketing effort has been extraordinary. I mean, whoever's the marketing team over at Warner Brothers is doing an amazing job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, from my understanding, they spent as much on marketing as they did on, on the actual film itself, which is like, wow. And by the way, you have no idea how many Barbie fans there are out there. Oh my God. Barbie is an institution, okay? Even men, even little boys like having the Ken dolls and stuff. It is a massive part of some people's lives, for real.
Week one, this thing is going to clean up at the domestic box office. My prediction is going to just absolutely fall off a cliff after that. The repeat business on this movie is going to be non-existent because it was written by two people who are so smug and self-satisfied, and Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach.
Okay, I don't know who those people are, and I don't know why he cares. Why does anybody care if they're smug and self-satisfied? I don't understand. Like, what does this have to do with anything?
That they have no audience. I mean, like, who thought it's a great idea? Let's bring on the people who wrote Lady Bird and Marriage Story to make a movie about a plastic doll that is generally played with by 5 to 9-year-old young girls. So the basic idea of the
by every 5 to 9-year-old girl. I would venture to guess every 5 to 9-year-old girl, or just about every 5 to 9-year-old girl, and even some boys, for the past 50-something years, 54 years or something like that, has had a Barbie or has known somebody who had a Barbie and has felt, has had their lives touched in some way by Barbie. Seriously, he's downplaying the significance of Barbie because he hates how this turned out or some other nonsense. Like, get over yourself, Ben. My God. This dude is so angry over nothing.
film. They really have no basic idea of the film. They don't know whether they hate Barbie or that we're supposed to kind of like Barbie. It seems they kind of despise Barbie as a fascist emblem, as we'll get to. The basic sort of premise of the film, politically speaking, is that men and women are on two sides of the divide, and they hate each other. And literally the only way you can have a happy world is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women.
Okay, I doubt that's the message. If that's the message that he pulled from it, I think that's in his own head. By and large, Barbie as an institution, as an idea, as a thing, has always kind of supported like a feminist message. It's always been about feminism and empowerment with Barbie, right? Any little girl can be the president because you see a Barbie as president. Any little girl can be a doctor if she wants. You can do anything you want. Now, granted, it perpetuated some harmful stereotypes too, beauty standards and things like that. But ultimately, overall, I think it's had a feminist message. And I think that's what the movie probably portrayed. Again, I haven't seen it yet, but that's my guess as to why Ben hates it so much. So I think what he's saying here is just out of sheer vindictiveness and anger and not based in reality at all. That's my guess. And anybody that's already seen it, I'm going to see it in the next few days. Anyone who's already seen it can tell me if I'm right on that. Just a guess.
And literally the only way you can have a happy world is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women. That seems to be the final outcome of this film. I was trying to separate this into problems with plot and problems with character and problems with the politics of the film, but they're all intertwined because the thing is just a mess. It doesn't make any sense. Plot-wise, it makes no sense. Character-wise, it makes no sense. So let's just go through it from the beginning. Okay, there's going to be lots of spoilers, but believe you me, I'm about to save you so much time.
Okay, so yeah, there will be spoilers, but you know what? I don't really care about spoilers. I think it's fine. It's a Barbie movie. Like, how much can they really spoil, honestly? You know, if there are that many spoilers in it, like if there are these twist endings and stuff like that, then Ben is kind of revealing like how complex the movie was just in the opening foray here, right? Seems to me. Okay. So be prepared. I guess Ben reveals some spoilers. I'm down if you guys are down.
Because this movie is 2 hours. It feels like it is longer than the Wagnerian ring cycle. It does not end.
Wait, longer than a what?
Movie is 2 hours. It feels like it is longer than the Wagnerian ring cycle.
What the hell is that? A Wagnerian rain cycle? Is that what he said? I have no idea what you are talking about, Ben. I'm sorry. I am so lost.
It does not end. Every scene is at least 2 minutes too long. Every single scene, every beat is 2 minutes too long. It is a bad film. Put aside the politics. Like, really, I was sitting there with a bunch of my producers. I'm a little bit more political than my producers. My producers were watching this.
That surprises the hell out of me. You're more political than your producers. Anybody that works at the Daily Wire, isn't that like a requirement? Like you have to be political or something?
Putting the politics aside, it is a bad movie. So why is it getting 91% on Rotten Tomatoes? Because.
Yeah, why is it so highly rated? Not just on Rotten Tomatoes, but everywhere else. By every audience. Why is it blowing out the box office right now? Why is it so extremely popular if the movie sucks? You know, in all honesty, I'm not one to talk. I saw the play Hamilton, the musical Hamilton, on Broadway, like at a theater. I saw Hamilton at a theater. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to swear. So prepare yourselves for this. I fucking hated that movie. Or that play, I'm sorry. It was bad. It was the worst play that I have ever seen in my entire life. And I have no clue how it got as popular as it is. Hamilton, I'm talking. But here we sit. So anyways, you know, audience score isn't necessarily an indication of how good a movie or a play or whatever is. So anyways, literally the worst. You know what? I'm going to take it a step further. Hamilton, the play or the musical or whatever, is even worse than Black Christmas. It is, dare I say, the worst movie or the worst play or musical or piece of entertainment that I have ever seen in my life. Hamilton on Broadway. I have no clue how it got all the way to Broadway. But okay, that's a totally different story. I'll tell you guys about it another time. Let's keep listening to Ben here.
The way that it works for the reviewers is if you have the right politics.
Oh, so he's going to come up with this conspiracy. Here's why Rotten Tomatoes is all like crooked and they've been weighting things toward feminism because they hate the right and blah, 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 blah. All right, let's hear the conspiracy, Ben.
My producers were watching this, putting the politics aside. It is a bad movie. So why is it getting 91% on Rotten Tomatoes? Because the way that it works for the reviewers is if you have the right politics, and those politics are sufficiently slyly inserted, then it will get a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, even if the thing is just dreck.
Okay, so here was my problem. Like, I agreed with, like I said, Black Christmas's message, you know, the feminist message generally, but it was a shallow, empty, garbage movie that was just terrible, right? There was nothing subtle about the way that it, like, delivered its message, and you need subtlety in this stuff. That's the thing. You need subtlety. If it's a subtle message, all right, the best messages are the subtle ones. So he's telling us that it delivered a subtle feminist message. That's good. It sounds like they did a fantastic job. The producers and the writers did. Or the directors and writers and stuff. That's what it sounds like to me. He's describing a good quality about it, not a bad one. Now, he's talking about Rotten Tomatoes, this whole conspiracy about how Rotten Tomatoes is, like, owned and operated by, you know, what would you call it? Like, big left or something? Like, the I don't know, some group of left-wingers out there that's, like, out to hurt the right or something. Like, anybody gives a shit. No. Here's the fact of the matter right here. Let me lay it on you. If you were unaware, by and large, people who support human rights are the silent majority. You guys remember all that talk about the silent majority from Jerry Falwell Sr.? All those years ago? Hell, with like Pat Robertson and, all of those televangelist types. Always talking about the silent majority. They're the silent majority. In reality, we are really the silent majority. People who are in favor of human rights. By and large, people are opposed to members of the trans community being attacked and maligned and, hated and mistreated and lists of their names turned over to governments and stuff like that. By and large, society is opposed to the treatment of trans people. It's just a really obnoxiously loud group of extremist nutcases on the right who are dead set on making their lives a living hell. That's really what it's all about here. So when Ben says there's some conspiracy with Rotten Tomatoes to blah, 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 no, that's just like, the silent majority voting. Here's another example of the silent majority voting. Republicans have not won the popular vote in the United States in 20 years. Okay? George W. Bush did not win the popular vote. Al Gore got more total votes than George W. Bush. John Kerry got more total votes than George W. Bush. I believe. Don't quote me on that specific one. Obama got more votes than John McCain, and then he got more votes than Mitt Romney. And then came Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton got more votes than Donald Trump. The reason that Republicans keep coming in and taking, control of the government the way that they do, the reason the pendulum is swinging, is because we don't live in a full democracy. We live in a representative democracy, and we have the Electoral College and everything. If the Electoral College didn't exist, this would be a very different country. So anyways, my point in saying all of this is that much to Ben Shapiro's chagrin, the silent majority is actually with us. The silent majority is actually in favor of people just living their lives the way they want to live it without being harassed and attacked and hated and maligned and questioned and all that other stuff by people like Ben Shapiro. So he can pretend there's a conspiracy all he wants, but ultimately, he's just not popular. Just get used to the fact that your movement is not popular, Ben.
Highly inserted, then it will get a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, even if the thing is just Drek. And I mean, boy, is this Drek. This is a Death Star-sized piece of Drek.
I cannot, no. I'm sorry. I simply do not believe that for one single second. Not based on audience ratings, not based on box office, purchases and all that stuff. Hell, let's just look it up right now. So, box office rankings this weekend. Barbie is at the very top of the list. It was the most highly rated movie this weekend, followed by Oppenheimer. 93 million gross came in for Barbie this weekend. The weekend of July 28th. Oppenheimer brought in 46 million, so about half as many as Barbie, half as much. And then Haunted Mansion something by Walt Disney, that brought in 24 million. That's what I'm seeing right now on the charts. Sound of Freedom was number 4. That's a QAnon movie with 12 million. Interesting. Okay. Well, there you go. Now we know. Barbie was number 1. It was the number 1 most popular movie the weekend that it released. Even twice as popular as its, competitor, if you will, Oppenheimer. So, no, Ben, I'm sorry. You are simply wrong about this one. But okay, let's keep listening here.
It is like, that's no moon. That's a Drek station. That is...
And that's why it had $96 million on its opening, or on the weekend of July 28th, right?
That this movie... Okay, so let's jump into it. I have like pages and pages of notes on this horrific piece of... I mean, my goodness. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. So it's from the beginning, you know what this movie is going to be, and it's going to be a very cynical take on what Barbie is, which is so weird. I don't know why Mattel would turn over its IP to filmmakers who clearly hate the IP. It's as though you were going to make Toy Story, except that toys are all evil. They're all bad, and you're supposed to hate them, and you should burn them.
Which actually happened and almost got the movie shut down, says the caption. Let me tell you something about the Daily Wire. You shouldn't trust a single word out of any of their mouths or any facts that they lay on you. Nothing. These people are completely and totally untrustworthy. Honestly, I'm not 100% trustworthy. I try my hardest to get my facts right. But you should fact check everything that you hear online. Every single thing. Do not, even the most trivial facts, don't take it for granted. Assume the person telling you is either lying or incorrect, always, when you're listening to political commentary online, like Ben Shapiro. So, anyways, I don't trust Ben Shapiro's assessment here at all, like even a little bit. But, okay, let's keep listening.
Because that's kind of the message of the film, is that the Barbies are bad for the world. Okay, so it begins by trying to uphold the original vision of Barbie. What was the original magical vision of Barbie? We have Helen Mirren here to tell us, in the form of a narrator apparently played by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's speaking from heaven. And we get a...
Okay, I don't know if that's true. Is this a joke he's telling? I have no idea. I have not seen the movie.
2001, A Space Odyssey flashback. Which, again, who's the audience for this? Like, the reference...
The audience is any girl that had Barbies when they were little, which is like all of them pretty much. Or they were at least adjacent to them, at the very least. Do you really not know who the audience is for this, or are you just being facetious?
Reference points in this film. It references variously Marcel Proust. It references Robert Evans and the cinematography of The Godfather. It references 2001, A Space Odyssey. This is a movie made for moms and their 7-year-old girls. Well, folks, wasting...
Okay, so he's saying that it references a whole bunch of stuff that might fly right past people who would get it. Well, guess what? A whole bunch of moms also have husbands who may be interested in that stuff. So it's not boring for the husband. It's the same reason why SpongeBob makes adult jokes sometimes that kids absolutely will not get. It's because they expect parents to be sitting there watching a little bit, and they want them to get a little entertainment out of it too. So that's actually an intelligent move that's really common in the industry. This is not an uncommon practice. Why is he even complaining about this? You know what's so sad about this? Ben Shapiro started as a scriptwriter in Hollywood. He was trying to break into the industry and failed miserably. He was just bad at it, apparently, and resorted to political commentary, which, you know, he seems to have succeeded at, I suppose. I mean, look where he is now, right? But he's not good at script writing, apparently. Maybe he's just bitter over how well this movie did and how poorly his did. I don't know.
2 hours of my precious time, 2 hours I will never get back, 2 hours where on my deathbed I will wish that I had not spent that time doing. Makes me viscerally angry. But I'm going to talk to you about something that makes me much happier, and that is...
You know what really upsets me? This guy's eyebrows. That's what upsets me. This guy desperately needs a set of tweezers. Will somebody please get him a set of tweezers for Christmas? I am begging his family. Please, this is a plea. If you're watching me right now, even hate watching, whatever, get him a set of tweezers, please. And I think he's about to advertise, and I don't want him to advertise on my channel. So whatever he's about to advertise, I want you guys to intentionally not purchase.
Our trusted privacy partner and premier sponsor of this...
ExpressVPN. Okay, now we know. We're going to skip straight past ExpressVPN. I'm not a sponsor of Surfsharks. I have worked with them a couple of times, Surfshark specifically. So take that for what you will. ExpressVPN sucks.
For free.
I'm sorry, let me say that again. ExpressVPN sucks solely because they sponsor extremist content like Ben Shapiro's garbage. That's why ExpressVPN sucks.
expressvpn.com/BenYT, expressvpn.com.
Okay.
That back in the day, girls would only play with dolls that looked like babies. And then she says that this could be fun, at least for a while anyway. Ask your mother, because your mother actually hates you and doesn't like being a mom, you see. So if you ask your mom, she wants to play at not being a mom sometimes. Okay, so the basic premise is Barbie is supposed to...
Okay, I don't think that's what the message was. Like, I didn't see the movie. I haven't seen it yet, but the message that I was picking up from that is that mothers played with Barbies also. Ask your mom. Mothers played with Barbies also. They probably don't play with them anymore. That seems to be the message. Ben just... Okay, I'm seeing what happened now. Ben just walked into this movie taking it as uncharitably as humanly possible, believing that it was giving the worst message imaginable. And that's why he hated it. As a young Jehovah's Witness growing up, of course not anymore, but when I was, watching anything worse than PG-13 was absolutely forbidden. And even watching a PG-13 film was, like, really questionable. Like, there were people in the Kingdom Hall who would judge the hell out of you if you watched a PG-13 movie. You would be, like, ostracized heavily. Like, ew, don't hang out with that family because they watch PG-13s, that kind of thing, you know. Some of them even didn't like Disney, no joke. Some Jehovah's Witnesses just go, like, way over the top with their stuff. I knew one family as a Jehovah's Witness. I mean, this is just a quick aside. Let me just show you how extreme some of these people are. I knew one family who would play Kingdom Melodies, which is like Jehovah's Witnesses music, while they, you know, did stuff, because they wanted to involve Jehovah in the equation. I am dead serious. That is about as disturbing as it gets, right? Anyway, okay, let's keep reading this. 46-year-old dude here. Barbie was hilarious. Yes, double entendres, but they admit it, literally, and own it on top of fashion. Class act 100%. Well, there you go. somebody who found the humor in Barbie. Again, like, I understand that it's PG-13. It's probably not designed for, like, little kids, like little kids. But, yeah, I heard that it was pretty good. I heard that it was really good, so. Plus the Rotten Tomatoes score and everything. Then again, I absolutely hated Hamilton, so I guess, you know, I don't always fit the groove of society, I guess you could say. Okay, look, why, you know what? All right, I'm not getting into the Hamilton thing. I'm sorry. I almost did. You almost dragged me into it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Just Hamilton sucks. It just sucks, okay? All right, let's keep listening here to Ben Shapiro complain about Barbie, the Barbie movie.
Ask your mom. She wants to play at not being a mom sometimes. Okay, so the basic premise is Barbie is supposed to be the independent woman who liberates all womanhood. But she fails. And she fails for two reasons. One, she's actually a tool of the patriarchal capitalist system.
I mean, I assume he's throwing these words in there. He said that it was extremely subtle, the the messaging that Barbie had. You know, the pro-feminism message that Barbie spread. It was all very subtle. If that's true, I seriously, deeply, to the bottom of my heart, doubt that they used any of the words that Ben is using right now. That's just ridiculous, but okay.
And two, the real world has rejected the message of Barbie, which is that women should run everything. Okay, so.
Okay, I doubt that's the message. Most women, I think maybe there's a very tiny minority of women out there who believe that men should not be in any position of authority. I think the vast majority of people just want to be equal. That's it. But okay, go on.
This is all not implicit. This is explicitly said. At the beginning, the monologue, you have Helen Mirren saying, because Barbie can be anything, women can be anything. At least that's what the Barbies think. See, in the real world, women can't be anything. And that's one of the messages of the film. In the real world, men run pretty much everything.
Well, that's all very true. That's exactly right. Yes, men run nearly everything. We have never had a female president in the United States. There are very few female leaders in the world, in the history of the world. Very few. Some, I suppose. I mean, what's there to argue with here? I don't understand.
Which is weird. Who greenlit this piece of shit? I mean, Greta Gerwig is a lady. She's making a good living off of this. Margot Robbie is playing the lead. In fact, the entire cast, aside from basically Ryan Gosling.
Now, we're talking about people in positions of authority, not famous people. Of course, there are famous women. Are you kidding me? We're talking about people in positions of authority specifically, and I just listed some of the problems there. Is he just denying there's a disparity between men and women at all? Does he think that men and women are perfectly, exactly equal right now, and that there is no reason to attempt to correct any kind of issues whatsoever? Is that what he's saying? I think that's what he's saying right now. That is an absolutely absurd thing to say, let alone think. What the hell are you talking about?
Gosling is women. So, it seems like women are doing okay.
Yeah, some women are doing okay. Other women are not. That's why we look at data. We're not looking at anecdotes. This is part of Ben's propaganda. He picks out a few anecdotes. He knows exactly what he's doing. Dude is Harvard educated, okay? I know what goes into passing law school because my wife is in law school right now. I know exactly what they teach you in law school, and it's basically 3 straight years of logic classes, of logical thinking, of figuring things out, of creating arguments out of nothing, out of creating arguments out of, you know, the worst possible situation or worst possible position you could be in. You are trained to recognize propaganda and fallacies in law school. That is the entire point of law school. Again, I have my wife's books right behind me on the table here. And Ben didn't go to just any law school. He went to Harvard Law School. And what's he doing? He's using anecdotes. Instead of looking at data, he's using anecdotes to, quote unquote, prove that women don't have any problems in society. This is honestly absurd. And he knows it is. He knows what he's doing right now. You can't convince me he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Is women. So it seems like women are doing okay. But again, put aside the meta logic of it. I'm going to go through like a lot of beats here. So it starts off with the idea that mommy dolls are bad and insufficient. But then they criticize Mattel.
Again, like, don't trust a word out of his mouth. I don't even know if what he's saying is true. This sounds completely made up, but okay.
For discontinuing a mommy doll named Midge. Right? Midge is the pregnant doll and it was discontinued. They're like, that's bad. But hold on, you just said that dolls about motherhood are bad, but then this one, don't look for any sort of logic.
Wait. So Mattel is the owner of the Barbie brand, right? I believe that's the case. You're telling me they discontinued one of the dolls, okay? And it happened to be like a pregnant Barbie. So, did Mattel specifically cite, or did they specifically tell you that they discontinued it because they believe that it was, teaching women to have babies and that's bad or something? Or is Ben just completely making that up? Is he just making a bunch of assumptions here? Because that seems to be like the dude's MO. That's what he does. He makes assumption after assumption.
Coherence. There is a Citizens United reference. They say all of the members of the Barbie Supreme Court are women. And then they are speaking out about Citizens United, that corporations are not people. It's literally a Citizens United reference. Who is the audience for this? Who is the 7-year-old girl who's like, yes, I too have a...
There aren't 7-year-old girls that would understand the Citizens United reference. But there are adults that are with those little girls that are also watching who will appreciate that reference because they get it. Are you kidding me? Okay, again, he used to want to be a screenwriter. He wrote scripts and tried to sell them in Hollywood. You cannot tell me he doesn't know exactly what he's doing right now. You can't convince me of it. He knows. Barbie movie took societal extremes via stereotypical Barbie and Ken, literally, then juxtaposed them with an extreme take on stereotypical real world, then resolved by finding humanity in the middle. That's interesting. Is that what it's about? Like, again, I haven't seen it. I don't know. I understand that it was really, really well done and very subtle. So take that for what you will. That's what I heard. I guess I'll know soon enough. But that apparently just pisses Ben off too much. It's not okay for Barbie to give any kind of message, even subtly, that women can do anything that a man can do. Even subtly, it's unacceptable, apparently.
A very informed perspective on the Citizens United decision. And then they say that logic and feeling...
By the way, okay, if you don't know the Citizens United ruling, this ruling was done by the Supreme Court in 2009, I believe. And the decision that the Supreme Court came to was a bad one, a very bad one. In fact, it is part of the reason why our politics are where they are today. Citizens United was a case that basically determined that corporations are considered people, and as people, they can use speech the same as any other person, and money is considered speech, so corporations can donate as much money as they want to as many politicians as they want, basically. I mean, it's more complicated than that, but that's the idea. Because corporations are people and money is speech. That's what Citizens United decided, and it brought obscene corruption into our political system, just disgusting corruption, like nearly irreversible corruption into the political system because of that one ruling. So anyways, that's what that was about.
Informed perspective on the Citizens United decision. And then they say that logic and feeling at the same time It doesn't diminish us. It proves that we are more than, right? It's all propagandistic. And then...
Wait, what's propagandistic? Exactly. Claiming that women are capable of doing anything that men are capable of doing. How's that propaganda? Do you know what a propaganda technique is, Ben? Of course Ben knows what propaganda is. He knows exactly what it is. Let me show you something. There's a Wikipedia page on propaganda techniques. Propaganda techniques are usually linked to logical fallacies, but not always. So you've got the bandwagon fallacy. You know, you should do this or believe that or whatever because everybody else believes it. It's the popular thing to do. It's a popular thing to believe. That's the bandwagon fallacy, and people use that fallacy as a propaganda method against people to propagandize, to convince other people around them that it's the right thing to do because other people believe it. So it's a fallacy and it's a propaganda technique. They're commonly correlated, but not always. Let's take a look at a couple of propaganda techniques here. Ad hominem. Now, remember, we're talking propaganda techniques, not fallacies. They have the same names as fallacies in some cases, but we're not talking about fallacies. These are propaganda techniques. The ad hominem propaganda technique, ad nauseum, agenda setting, appeal to authority, appeal to fear, appeal to prejudice. Here's the definition of appeal to prejudice. Using loaded or emotive terms to attach value or moral goodness to believing the proposition. Here's the appeal to fear. Appeals to fear seek to build support by instilling anxieties and panic in the general population. For example, Joseph Goebbels, which was Hitler's propaganda minister, exploited Theodor Kaufmann's Germany must perish to claim that the Allies sought the extermination of the German people. Appeal to fear. That's what that is. Again, a lot of the time propaganda techniques are based on fallacies. They're built on them, but they are not always correlated. There are some propaganda techniques that are completely unconnected from fallacies entirely. Let me give you one. Let me just get to the point here real quick with Ben. The point here is that Ben is throwing the word propaganda around all willy-nilly when he's not naming a technique, he's not referencing a technique. There's no propaganda to be had here. Telling women that they're capable of doing everything that a man can do is not propaganda. Telling people that they are equal to everybody else is not propaganda.
It doesn't diminish us. It proves that we are more than, right? It's all propagandistic.
No, it's not. You're misusing that word. And he knows he is. He knows he's misusing the word. Let me give you one more explanation, one more example. Let me give you an example of a propaganda technique that was just invented not too long ago. As far as we can tell, 2014, maybe a little bit earlier, by Vladimir Putin, and has been heavily used by Donald Trump ever since. It's called the fire hose of falsehoods. Fire hose propaganda. It's not built on a logical fallacy. It's simply a propaganda technique. Now, here's how it works, okay? Vladimir Putin actually invaded Ukraine once already in 2014. I don't know if you guys were paying attention politically or not. I was not. I didn't realize this until fairly recently. So Putin invades Crimea and takes it, just takes part of Ukraine away, right? And in an effort to garner support for his war against Ukraine, he spread as many lies as humanly possible through as many outlets as he could possibly get them to. In the recent war that Putin is waging against Ukraine, he did the exact same thing. Fire hose of falsehoods. You throw out a billion things, a billion reasons why you're right. There are biolabs in Ukraine. We're fighting Nazis. We're trying, there's human trafficking taking place. Throw out as many lies as you can possibly throw out, and one of them is going to stick. One of them is going to go viral, one of those lies. And whichever one it is that sticks in people's heads the best That's the one that you double and triple down on. That's the idea behind the fire hose of falsehoods. Spread it out to as many people as possible, as many lies as you can, until you find one that clicks with the public. Because nobody believed that Putin was fighting Nazis in Ukraine. Okay, nobody believed that for a second. But the biolab claim, that one stuck a lot easier than the Nazi one. That's why Putin did it the way that he did it. That's one example of a propaganda technique that is not linked to a logical fallacy. Ben knows all this that I'm saying right now. He understands all of this because he went to law school for this stuff. He learned all of this in law school. You cannot convince me. He doesn't know this better than I do. Okay, I've been studying propaganda techniques and fallacies and all this stuff for, 7 years or some crazy thing like that now. I guarantee you Ben knows more about it than I do. So why is he acting like such a fool right now? Why is he acting like he's just completely oblivious to how all of this works? Because he wants to take advantage of people's ignorance. It seems obvious to me. You know, I don't always believe that people are cynically using their platform to convince people of things that they don't even fully believe. I don't always believe that. Like with Jehovah's Witnesses governing body members, I think they believe the nonsense that they spread, by and large. But every now and then I come across somebody who I'm sorry, I simply cannot believe actually buys the nonsense that they're laying down. And Ben Shapiro is one of those people. I cannot buy the idea that he believes anything he's saying. He is simply propagandizing and lying and twisting things around intentionally for the purpose of doing so, because he wants his side to win, and he's going to use anecdotal evidence, and he's going to use every propaganda technique in the book to get people convinced. The appeal to fear, the bandwagon effect, the anecdotal evidence, anything he can use. That's what he uses. So right here we see an example of him misusing the term propaganda. Certainly intentionally. You cannot convince me he doesn't know what that means exactly. And while he's misusing the term, he is actually using propaganda, a propaganda technique where he uses anecdotal evidence to fortify a position that can't be fortified any other way. That's what we're watching Ben do right now. So, look, I haven't even seen the Barbie movie, but watching anything from Ben Shapiro tips me off to the fact that he's not a good faith actor. He doesn't even believe the things that he's saying, in my opinion. He can't possibly. He went to law school. You cannot convince me this dude buys anything he's saying. Anyway, let's keep listening.
Then it sets up the dichotomy. The dichotomy is that men and women are in complete and utter contradistinction in terms of their roles. So women only exist if they are completely free of men, and men only exist if they are completely free of women.
Well, I mean, that's probably just a framing technique. Like, movies do that kind of thing all the time. They're setting it up in a very specific way for entertainment value, not to send some message.
The problem is set up for Ken, is that Ken is dependent on Barbie, right? Because Ken is kind of secondary.
Yeah, I mean, that's the joke. Yeah, that's a joke, because nobody would buy Ken dolls unless they had Barbie dolls. Of course, Ken is dependent on Barbie. That's the point. It was a joke. Did you not get the joke? He's acting like there's some secret message here that they're trying to spread about how women are good and men are bad or some other nonsense. Like, he's just taking this entire thing in bad faith. Also, this whole scene right here that he's showing, this is what I was talking about. Ben Shapiro, in my thumbnail, you'll see. He showed it in his, he showed it in the movie, or in this video that he did earlier, too. It showed him in front of, like, the Barbie sign or whatever. He was dressed just like this. There was a whole scene where a bunch of Kens all danced around together and all this other stuff, and they were all dressed, wouldn't you know it, exactly the same way that Ben Shapiro was dressed when he went to see the movie. Weird, huh? That's super strange. I mean, was that a coincidence? It could have been. It's possible. Not completely inconceivable to think that it was a coincidence. I'm just saying. It's kind of weird.
We also set up at the very beginning that Barbie doesn't like Ken. She finds Ken annoying. She finds Ken ridiculous, which, again, is sort of against the concept of Ken and Barbie. But
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, but, you know, movies evolve, stories evolve, things grow and change, and that's called a plot line, Ben. Do you understand what a plot line is and how it works?
the basic idea is that Barbie is an independent woman and Ken is completely superfluous. We then go to the beach, and there's a scene on the beach where the Kens are supposed to be the lifeguards, and the ladies are playing on the beach, and we get a series of gay masturbation jokes. Again, there's an audience for children.
Okay, I don't even know if that's true. Again, even the most basic facts you should not trust. Ben Shapiro says 2 + 2 is 4. You should just double check his math. Really, I'm not joking. Every innocuous, mundane, trivial fact that you hear from this dude right here, you should double check it. Because I've actually come to find that a few times he's straight up lied. Or people on the Daily Wire have just blatantly, flat out lied. Like, bald-faced, shamelessly lied about something to try to convince the audience that, you know, their way of life or their belief system or whatever is the correct way. So doubt everything. Just be skeptical of whatever you hear.
Children, they're talking about beaching each other off. Right? There's a line where Ken says to another one of the Kens, "I'm going to beat you off." Get it? Get it? You get it? Because it's like beat you off, but beach you off. And then they repeat that.
Okay. That's, I mean, Ben is, of course, stripping the context away, thus making it unfunny intentionally. But I could see where a joke like that could be pretty amusing.
No less than 4 or 5 times in the span of 45 seconds.
If I wasn't severely injured, I would beat you off right now, Ken. I'll beat you off with you any day, Ken. Anyone?
Okay, that's actually kind of funny. I like it. Okay. I mean, yeah, he's stripping the context out and intentionally trying to make people angry about it, like anybody cares. Like, FYI, the Bible doesn't even speak out against that. Doesn't speak out against, you know, touching yourself, for example. There's a verse in the Bible. Basically, it says, it's better to spill your seed in the belly of a whore than to spill it on the ground, something to that effect. Guess what? That verse is fake. That's not a real verse. It's completely made up. I was told that verse is real when I was little, and that's the justification for not touching yourself, you know, in basically every religion or every Christian denomination from here to Texas. It's fake. The whole thing is fake. The Bible actually never mentions doing that at any point, ever. And trust me, they were doing it back then. If you think they weren't, you're a fool. It was happening. Hell, I'm sure Jesus was doing it if he was really around and doing whatever. No doubt whatsoever. Although, you know, I have a little headcanon of my own that maybe Jesus was gay. Always hanging around dudes, you know, chilling out, and never a single woman around. Weird, huh? I don't know. Anyways, my point is that, you know, Ben stripped the context out of this, and I can see where this could be funny.
Anyone who wants to beach him off has to beach me off first.
I will beat both of you off at the same time.
Beach both of us off? Nobody's gonna beach anyone off.
Bazinga.
Okay, yeah, that's... that I can see where that'd be funny.
Because it's just such a great gay masturbation joke. You got to go for it. I mean, what else will the 7-year-old girls in the audience think if you don't go for the gay masturbation joke on the beach? Clearly.
I mean, 7-year-old girls probably wouldn't get the joke. That's the point. SpongeBob does the same thing. So does, you know, the Fairly Odd Parents does the same thing. Like, all of these different, you know, kids shows do this. They intentionally, you know, make questionable jokes that kids will not get for the adults in the audience. This is just part of the deal. Welcome to media. Is this your first time, Ben?
Clearly. We get black female President Barbie because this is, of course, the greatest of all possible worlds. So Kamala Harris, the Barbie version, is the president of the United States.
Okay, he's reading into that way too much. Had nothing to do with Kamala Harris.
And then we get the break, right? Then we get the actual plot point. Plot point number 1. Barbie has irrepressible thoughts of death. So again, at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, wait a second, isn't this a kid's movie? Isn't this supposed to be made for 7-year-old girls?
No, I believe it's a PG-13 movie, isn't it? Let me just look up the rating real quick, just to be sure. What is Barbie movie rated? Yeah, it's PG-13. It's not a kid's movie, no. You should be at least 13 before you watch this movie, is what the rating board said. So, yeah. You're just wrong, Ben.
Girls? Nope. It's about existential angst over mortality.
Did he say angst? Did he mean angst? Existential angst? Yes, it is, because it's a PG-13 movie. Welcome to the real world, Ben. Again, another example of Ben Shapiro looking for the most bad faith interpretation in any situation of the things that he doesn't like. It's just sad, man. Come on. Move on with your life. It's just a movie, really.
That's what this film is about. Now, again, interlaced through all of this is just more and more and more politics, right? One of the Barbies is a trans Barbie, and this is treated totally normally, as though this is
Is that even true? Was there a trans Barbie?
a female Barbie with a voice, again, deeper than my own. So, Barbies...
Well, that's not hard to beat. I'm sorry. Ben Shapiro has a fairly, high-pitched voice. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but okay.
Starts to have these irrepressible thoughts of death. And this comes along with physical symptoms, like, for example, her feet flatten out. Again, this is one of the few cute jokes in the movie, is that Barbie walks around, and just like a normal Barbie doll, when you take off the shoes, the feet are shaped like the shoe, like the high heel. But now she is turning into like a real-world person, and so her feet collapse, right? And so she goes to see Weird Barbie. So Weird Barbie is a Barbie that has been played with too hard and has all the knowledge, not only about Barbie land, but also about the real world. And apparently there's a connection between the people playing with the Barbies and the Barbies. So if the people playing with Barbies are sad, then the Barbies also get sad. Weird that this has only happened to Barbie.
Oh, that's super interesting. Okay, I don't really fully understand, like, the world building and how it was kind of set up or whatever. So I feel like I'm definitely missing context here that I probably need to fully understand what's happening. But just from what I've heard so far, it actually sounds like a really interesting premise. Oh, my God. Like, really, really in-depth. It's not just this shallow thing, seems to me.
Barbie, because it turns out that lots of people are sad and have played with Barbies for a very long time. But that's the plot point. Fine. And again, the concept of like a Barbie that was played with too hard is very funny because everybody has seen that before. And they somehow blow this. Somehow they make this into a not funny thing.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's seen Barbies that have been played with too hard, cut their hair and all that other stuff.
So Weird Barbie is ugly, and she has bad makeup and all the rest of it. And she informs Barbie she has to go to the real world, and she has to find the person who is playing with her, and she has to make that person feel better because that will heal the problem that she's having in Barbie Land. Okay, so we have our plot point, right? We have the thing that's going to launch us off into the rest of the movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have your protagonist, and you have your antagonist. I guess not a person, but like an idea that is... causing strife with this character, and you have a goal for the character. Okay, go on.
And then it's just a complete mess from here on in. At least to this point, it's kind of dumb but coherent. From here on in, it makes no sense at all. Again, Kate McKinnon sets up the dichotomy that pretty much the makers of the film hate Barbie by suggesting that you can live in Fantasyland with Barbie and you can take the Barbie shoe, or you can take Birkenstocks, right? You can become like a Portland lesbian and you can learn about reality.
I don't understand what the hell Ben is talking about right now. I feel like I'm missing context, but then I wonder, is Ben Shapiro just like not making any sense? Like, would context even help in this situation? I'm not so sure. I don't know.
That's going to be the choice that you have to make, but not before she makes a joke about Ken and wanting to see the nude blob he is packing under those pants.
That's so
Somebody said that?
Perfect for 8-year-old girls, ladies.
It's not for 8-year-old girls. It's PG-13. You should be 13 years old before you watch this, at least.
Mothers, just be warned. Ken and Barbie head off to the real world to try to find the person who is playing with Barbie. And immediately, upon arriving in the real world, Barbie is hit with an overwhelming tsunami of sexism. Like, right away, boom. She walks in, and a bunch of men just leer at her and say, "Give us a smile, blondie," which is something that no one under the age of 70 has said to a woman in the recent past.
Okay, maybe that's true, but actually, you don't realize how much sexism women deal with like that. Seriously, I've seen it. It's crazy. If you're not a woman, or let me rephrase, if you are not a young, thin woman that is stereotypically, or that stereotypically adheres to Western beauty standards, you may not be fully aware of this, but there are so many dudes out there that are complete pigs and that will like follow you home and shit, completely uninvited, don't want anything to do with it. They'll like follow you and talk to you, and they'll try to get you to get with them, and it's just weird and creepy, and it's the reason why women carry mace in their purse all the time. Seriously, it's bizarre to see. I've watched it happen before. And, there's actually even a code with women that, they're supposed to help each other if there's something going on. They tell each other that there's somebody following them, or that they're afraid, or ask them to follow them to the next stop on the train, the subway or whatever. There is a whole full-blown code that women have because this is such an extremely common experience among women. If Ben, it doesn't surprise me that Ben is not aware of this, but this probably wasn't even an unrealistic scene. This is probably extremely realistic, in all seriousness. Just ask any woman that in your life, any woman that you know, if you can look at her direct messages on Twitter or anywhere else, if you could just follow her around covertly for a day, ask her, say, "Can I just follow you around covertly for a day? Just walk like 20 feet behind you and see how many men talk to you and whistle at you and like literally try to follow you home, and then like, act intimidating and threatening and stuff like that." Ask any woman if you're unaware of this phenomenon. It's insane. When we consider that Shapiro talks with the zest of an over-caffeinated hummingbird on crack, isn't it obvious that some of the things he would say is plain gibberish? Yeah, fair enough. Joshua Okoro Soko, thank you for the super chat. And that's a good point. I hadn't considered that one, and I'm going to have to use that in the future. Over-caffeinated hummingbird on crack. I like it. That's really good. Expect that meme to be stolen. Just absurd, man. I'll tell you what. I actually have to get off of here because it's getting a little bit late, and I was up until 5 o'clock. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning. I went to sleep at like 1 a.m., and I woke up at 5:30 this morning to an alarm going off. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. My cat had a low glucose situation. She was, her blood sugar level fell below 60, which is the level at which we're supposed to take her to the hospital. So 5:30 rolls around. I hear that alarm. I check her glucose level. She has a little CGM thing. It's called a continuous glucose monitor. It goes under the skin. They're kind of difficult to get in, so if you can get it in, it's really lucky and convenient. Anyway, I had to take her to the animal hospital not too long ago, and they inserted one when I was there. Anyways, so we rubbed honey on her gums, because that's what you're supposed to do, rub honey on their gums if they're having a low glucose situation. And she, we stayed up for about 30, 45 minutes and waited, and then we scanned her again to see if it was working, and it worked. Her glucose went back up. So we go back to sleep at about 6 a.m., 6:15. 8 a.m., we get the same alert. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. She's not supposed to get insulin or food until 10:30. It's complicated to have a diabetic cat, guys, really. It's very difficult. I mean, I will do anything for this cat. I love her to death. I'm just saying it's very complicated. I will figure it out for her sake. But boy, is it hard. Anyway, so we get the little alert again, and this time I'm like, it's telling me it's really low. It's like 40. And I'm like, you know what? The CGM, the continuous glucose monitor, is 5 to 30 minutes behind like what her actual blood sugar is. Just because, you know, that's how it works. So we can prick her. Have you ever tried to take insulin or take blood from a cat to test the insulin level? Oh boy. That's another thing you got to learn when you have a diabetic cat. This is all stuff that my wife and I learned in the past year. It's very, very difficult to figure this out and overwhelming too. But we did it because we love her to death. So anyways, we had a little pricker. You know, we prick her ear because she's got a little vein that runs through her ear. We prick the ear, we get the blood, and we put it on the little test strip and find that her glucose level was 27 this morning. Holy shit! She should be having seizures right now. That is so low. And that the pricking thing, the blood, that's basically an instantaneous reading of what she's dealing with. So we put a bunch of honey on her gums like instantly and gave it 15 minutes. And if 15 minutes it didn't start going up, we were going to take her to the hospital again, which, by the way, is thousands of dollars that I don't have to spend. So we were going to wait 15 minutes, see if it went up. And sure enough, it did. It went back up. It hit 68, up from 27 to 68 in 15 minutes. But, you know, the point is I got about 4 hours of sleep last night because I was up making sure that my cat didn't die. It's really, really, really hard to take care of a diabetic cat, but we love her to death. She's just the best, so we'll do whatever it takes to keep her going, basically. So, anyways, yeah, so we fed her this morning a little bit earlier than usual. We gave her phenobarbital, which is her anti-seizure medicine she has to take. It's a barbiturate like Quaaludes. Turns out it's a really uncommon drug, except for this one very specific circumstance. And so we fed her, and her glucose has gone up. I mean, I'm looking at the chart now. It's doing a lot better. Well, it's a little bit high now, but I'm afraid to give her any insulin at night because of what happened last night, you know. She's got to make it 12 hours with no food, and we're asleep and everything. It's just scary, you know. It's a scary situation. I just hope that she's got a long life ahead of her still, because it really worries me. So, anyways, yeah, the joys of having a diabetic cat. I wouldn't change it for the world. I love her to death. I'd do anything for her, anything. Spend any amount of money that I had. Of course, I don't have that much, but if I had it, I would spend it to save her life, to do whatever it took. But boy, is it stressful to have a diabetic cat. So right now, I'm going on 4 hours of sleep. And it's 10 o'clock almost again. And I mean, in New York City where I live. And I am tuckered the heck out. You guys don't even realize how tuckered out I am. I've been drinking espresso here out of my Captain Picard cup. Got it. This is the exact cup that I had it specially. Well, my wife had it specially made for our anniversary one year recently. I think it was an anniversary present. Anyway, yeah, my little Captain Picard cup I've been drinking espresso out of to try to stay awake. So anyway, I'll tell you what, guys, that's where I'm going to call it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and listening to this. If you want to see the rest of the breakdown of the Barbie movie, I'll be covering it tomorrow. Just check out my Unfiltered channel because, you know, this will eventually make it there. I will eventually be uploading it there and talking about it there and everything else. So if you want to see the rest of this, just go over to Unfiltered, stick around, and check some other stuff out because I have a whole bunch of interesting stuff on there, okay?